It states in parts, the Commission shall undertake a physical and geographical analysis of the land use in each of the states in order to ascertain the best and most appropriate place to locate the federal grazing reserve and route within the said state. The Commission shall, after undertaking the analysis of the grazing reserves and routes, approach each state governor with the cooperation of the member of the Commission from that state to negotiate with the governor to transfer the land to the Commission for the purpose of grazing routes and reserve.
You see, when this bill becomes a law, it will resist them to the grazing routes and reserve. And we are going to have penalty for grazing outside the designated areas. So that is what we're trying to do. You see, I brought this bill was there during the 7th Assembly, and we did the public hearing. After the public hearing, I think we even did the third reading. But there's another version of this bill, which is a bit different from mine, in the Senate. I think their own version, then after the public hearing, it got stuck at the third reading. But we don't need to deceive ourselves. We cannot allow what is happening now to continue. You know, this conflict is all over the place, all over the states of the Federation. As we need to make law that we at least correct some of these things that is causing problem all over the nation. Even with our standing orders, business of the House continue from assembly to another assembly. And I've reintroduced this bill for the 8th Assembly. It's not going to go through all this org of public hearing and order. It's going to go to the Committee of the Whole. When it passed through the Committee of the Whole, that is, it will only need the concurrence of the Senate.
Fiery lawyer Fred Agbaje seems to align with the Fulani representative, stating that politics is being played on the soul of the country, the agricultural sector. The Nigerian government is trying to grapple with the issue of insecurity, particularly as it concerns the Boko Haram attacks here and there in the northeast. However, it looks as if there is another new threat, which is the cattle rustling and crisis between local farmers and cattle rearers.
So many things have changed. Style have changed. That is style of living. Even to the animals themselves, there's insecurity. The owners know this. And that's why the owners, that is the grazers of these animals, have developed different methods to protect their own animals. Instead of protecting human beings, they prefer to protect their own animals because the animals is their lifestyle. But some of them live virtually on those animals. They feed on those animals. The economic well-being is virtually based on the amount of cattle they rear. There are even incidents in this country where former head of state retire, we don't go back into farming, and one of the largest area or one of the largest economic contributor in terms of agricultural development is in the area of animal husbandry, that is grazing of animals. So if former top military officers, former head of state can go into animal husbandry, doesn't that tells you that there's a lot of money in it? And secondly, for the fact that since the economy is changing, animal husbandry, the management of these animals must also change with time. That is why they are prepared, the owners of these cattle are prepared to do anything in terms of security to ensure that the lives of those animals are well secured. Even at the expense of human being. That is why it is easy for somebody to live far north under the guise of grazing with the animals up to the south, to Calabar. Can you imagine somebody grazing animal from a place like Sokoto or from Kano, or from Kano, Kaura Namuda, or from Castina, that is the area, the northeast area, to the south. If there is no economic viability in the pursuit of those animals, they won't go into it. And therefore, for those economic reasons, they are ready for a change. And that change must revolve around the protection of the lives of those animals as against human lives.
The bill on animal grazing is already pending in the House of Representatives and, of course, the Senate. I don't think there's been any strong deliberations on that bill.
Who are those suppressing that bill from becoming laws? Just like the PIB law, Petroleum Industry Bill, the grazing bill. These are laws that will enhance the economic development of this country. We are talking on unemployment. Unemployment and insecurity are interrelated. One feed the other. If you address the economic development in terms of provisions for grazing zones, you have your zones, you can go and graze there. Even me as a lawyer, at the weekend when I'm less busy, when I retire on Saturday from the office, I can go to my farm to go and graze animals and help the economy to develop. But we are not thinking of that. Everybody's thinking of how to become minister for petroleum because it's cheap to get quick money there and then leave the rest of us to poverty. But this is Nigeria, whose major economic stay before the discovery of Oloibiri oil in 1958. Our major stay was agriculture. Western region was able to achieve so much of success under Chief Obafemi Awolowo. It never borrowed one kobo from any foreign bank. It depended on agricultural products. And depending on the agricultural products, it never allowed grazing to under people's land to go and destroy the economic well-being of others. It is like some people are deliberately embarking of economic mischief and economic annihilation of other tribes. It doesn't go where. The federal government must begin to address the issue of grazing zones. If the federal government has deemed it fit to address the issue of EPZ, export promotion zones and the rest of them, why can't we do the same thing to agriculture, particularly animal husbandry, when we know that we are getting so much from the animal rearing? And don't forget that gone are the days when people were depending so much on tanning, that is pomo. People are no longer chewing pomo now. People want to wear good shoes. People want to wear good hats. These are products from the animals. Nigeria has so much to gain from export from agriculture. But because the government does not look at that direction, rather everybody is looking at the economy, looking at the petroleum sector. That's why a lot of things is happening in the agricultural front. And I want to say this, that any attempt for the government to ignore the need to fast-track the grazing bills before the National Assembly, any attempt to delay further will amount, in my view, to a surreptitious violation of Section 15, 16, and 17. Those of the Constitution, those sections deal with economic objective, social objective, and political objectives of the federal and the state local government to address this. All I've said, they are all encompassed in Chapter 2 of that Constitution, Section 15, 16, and 17. Once the federal government can begin to look into those sections, this issue of animals, human beings using animals to exploit others, would have been greatly addressed.
Now that Nigerians, particularly the local farmers, would have to wait for the grazing bill to be passed into law, must the federal government wait for that bill to be passed into law before a short-term solution is brought to bear, particularly as it concerns this threat, where the locals are now killing themselves over rights to graze and rights to farm?
Because of the possibility of the oil going up or drying up any moment from now, the more is in the federal government through the instrumentality of ASO Rock to ensure that there is quick passage of those bills. Because if the federal government is saying, well, because those bills have not become law, there's nothing we can do about the grazing zone, the economic retrogression will continue in terms of, one, insecurity of life and property, between 2 tribes or 3 tribes that will be involved in the animal husbandry, and those whose economic crops are being daily destroyed. So the federal government must begin to think of the implications, the economic, social implications of not allowing that bill to become law. So the earlier we pass it, the better. It will go to be to the credit of the federal government that Nigeria has joined civilized world in the export of major agricultural products, including, like I said earlier, tanning. I used to know when I was growing up, we used to admire the cocoa farmers in the West, the granite pyramid in the North, particularly the granite pyramid in Kano, the tiny industry in Kano too. What happened to them? So if the problem is because of lack of the passage of these grazing zones, because by the time you divide the entire country into grazing zones, a lot of people will pick up agriculture. A lot of people, in fact, pick up animal husbandry as a way of life, and this will also ultimately help in the domestic growth of our economy, and also contribute to export. Direct foreign investment. You'll be surprised that foreigners will also want to invest in the agricultural sector, animal sectors. But since the federal government is not interested in ensuring that the grazing bill sees the light of the day, so be it. But like I said, it is better we put this bill. But the federal government can also move further to say, well, since the bill is being delayed, let us begin to put certain paraphernalia in place pending when the bill will become law. Because if you are waiting until what year that this present senators and House of Rep members will pass the grazing bill into law, you might not do so in the next 4 years. In fact, in the next 8 years, they might even do it. Look at how long the PIB law has been with the National Assembly. That bill has been dancing kokoma. It will be somersault. Today, some senators will say we are interested, we blah, 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 we want to address the issue of oil and the community's problem. At the end of the day, nothing comes out of it. So the same thing with animal grazing bill. So I will advise that for the sake of growth, of economic growth of this country, that bill should be given accelerated passage. In fact, those 2 bills, so that as we are addressing the economic destabilization in the Niger Delta as a result of oil exploration and the rest of them, we should also begin to address the issue of animal husbandry as well as this animal grazing, in which economic activities, economic crops of some people are being wantonly destroyed. I was just thinking that Nigeria being a member of the international community now, we should stop depending on oil. We should be able to go into massive agricultural development, particularly if our current president, in the matter of change, and he started it, and he was involved, he said, he named cattle as part of his asset, in his asset declaration. For goodness sake, our president should also ensure that the grazing bill sees the light of the day, so that people like me, who want to go into agriculture and cattle rearing in the future, does not have problem with my community in Akoko Edo when I begin to raise animals.
And until the move is made to speed up the passage of the Grazing Routes Bill into law, security must be tightened to ensure the clashes between the nomads and farmers are eliminated.